power. The minister involved is Tom Koutsantonis.
Keith John from the government. I'm here to help.
Yeah, you heard that. Oh, whoops.
The 5AA Breakfast Show. Weekday mornings from 6 on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA. Interactive radio. Tweet at 1395 5AA. Peter Godfrey.
16 past 5. Now, this topic that Tony brought up earlier has got a lot of response. A couple of calls. Then Claire said she had similar experiences, knows of similar experiences, and suggested that some action was taken through Consumer Affairs. I wouldn't have thought Consumer Affairs would have dealt with that, but that's what she said. Neil suggested, well, Fair Work Australia, of course, but the union would have been the why they're not or weren't doing anything about it. Don't know. Anyway, let's head to New Zealand. Selwyn Manning from livenews.co.nz joins us from across the ditch. G'day, Selwyn.
Yeah, g'day, Peter.
How's things been over there? How's your weather going? Are you?
Yeah, it's been a bit of kind of cloudy for most of the week, Peter, but certainly today up in the Auckland area anyway, it's a crystal clear blue sky, so we're in for a bit of a great one. Down in the South Island, once again, there was a late season snowfall that is cooling it all down a bit, and once again it'll be very good for skiing, particularly in the South Island area.
Jealous. Well, we've just about got that weather here too. It's been pretty miserable overnight with hail and wind and goodness knows what. But
blame it on the Southern Ocean, do you?
Yeah, I think so. We'll blame it on something. Anyway, let's get on to some of the things. Your national-led government just announced their the budget deficit for the year. Not now. It's higher than what was forecast. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. It's a bit of a thing both each ways in a sense, is the way the government's kind of spinning it.
Yes,
we've seen the budget deficit up to June 30th was 9.2 billion New Zealand dollars, that is. Now that's higher by around about just short of $1 billion above what the Treasury forecast in May was, which it was forecasting it would be at 8.4. So this at 9.2 is $800 million more than what Treasury had forecast only the months prior to. Now, the Finance Minister, Bill English, he said yesterday that, and this is a quote, overall the operating deficit before gains and losses was $9.2 billion for the latest year, compared with $18.4 billion the previous year. So what he's saying there is they've carved the economy deficit by half. And they're really focusing on that. Remember, with the Christchurch earthquakes, with huge borrowing that had occurred by the national-led government over those previous couple of years and last year leading into the elections, was pushing that operating deficit right up to 18.4, and it's now back within the realms of where it wanted it to be at 9.2. Now, he also said that this is due to a higher tax revenue and lower core Crown expenses, and also a large fall in the annual Christchurch earthquake expenses. Now, first off, the government seems to be pitching that the higher tax revenue is coming in because there's a return basically to economic activity in the New Zealand economy, meaning things are good. The Labour Party is saying, well, come on, actually, the job market, big industries, and they cited about 4 different major sites around New Zealand where huge layoffs, up to 600 people in just 1 week were laid off at one, for example. So the government, it's saying, is trying to spin a very much a positive picture. With the Christchurch earthquake expenses, from an economic point of view, the government is saying that that's assisted it to halve that deficit. But at the same time, the people in Christchurch, as we've said on your program quite a number of times, Peter, are really struggling. That they are not satisfied with getting a resolution to their damaged houses. The insurance money has not come in on time for them. Some people are still down and out trying to actually find a way through the impact and the consequence of the Christchurch earthquake in February last year, Peter.
Are they predicting when they're going to get back to surplus? Is that coming up?
Yeah, now the Wall Street Journal last night said that the deficit is almost $1 billion above the May forecast, and that said that the New Zealand government, this shows that the New Zealand government is not on target to meet its political goal to return New Zealand's economy to a budget surplus by 2014-2015. Wall Street Journal seem to be pitching that in canvassing a number of economists around the place, that they believe that if things went well for New Zealand, that it would return around 2017. Now, that would be seen as a political failure by the John Key-led national government here in New Zealand if that was the case, because it campaigned in the last election particularly on getting it back into surplus by 2014, 2015. I've got to say, the polls came out last night, one of the polls of Roy Morgan, and it showed that support for the national-led government has dipped to its lowest level since 2008. When Helen Clark was the Prime Minister.
Okay.
That's down to 41.5% support for the national-led government. Remember that it's coalition friends that helps it stay into government. They are all dwindling away into 1.5% and 0.5% type band. So the National Party is very fast running out of friends there. And the opposition blocs, meaning the Labour Party, the Green Party, and New Zealand First, a more centrist position nationalistic party, they push over to around 53% support.
Okay. Just back to the government's plan to get the surplus back by the 2015. Is that contingent on the sell-off of some of the assets that you've spoken about previously?
Yes, it is. The asset sales have been factored into the economy and the operating aspects of the economy, and the government has been absolutely stalled on that. Excuse me. There's all sorts of threats, like threats of non-profitability, and some of those that, like in the coal mining area, Solid Energy, for example, the commodity prices for coal offshore has dropped to very low levels. So that takes away any incentive for people to invest in that. The other aspects relating to the power energy companies that are reliant on water resources and the rivers here and lakes to generate power. Well, the very solid sectors of the Māori, a part of New Zealand Māori community, the tribes, the iwi, have been positioning to test whether or not there is water ownership issues there that the government is ignoring. So all of that undermines the potential price that the government could get at the stock market. So it has stalled its rollout to the stock market of those state assets. Now, that money that it was anticipating getting in from those assets, even if it floated now, looks like it would be a lot less, billions of dollars less than what it anticipated. So that fiscal crunch, one would predict, would be coming in after budget and on budget next year. So that's like mid-year when the consequences of that would start to bite into it.
Yeah. Just if I can digress slightly, just a question without notice, I guess, just you mentioned sort of your polls there.
Yeah.
Don't know whether you've been following all out the name calling and allegations of misogyny and things like that within our parliament. What's the situation there? And all of that. Yeah, all of those things. What's the situation with your parliament? Is it as bad as ours seems at the moment with all this, just everybody just bitching and sniping at each other? What's it like over there?
It's not so bad, but what we have got is this absolute scandal where the Prime Minister John Key's credibility continues to be questioned over his political handling, his governance handling of the intelligence agencies here in New Zealand. We spoke last week, Peter, with Mr. Perry on your program about this, and we went into quite detail where the Prime Minister claims not to have known that the GCSB, or the Government Communications Security Bureau, had been unlawfully spying on Kim.com, the mega upload boss that the FBI wanted nabbed here in New Zealand. Now, the New Zealand security forces and police obviously were complying with the FBI's wants, but it appears many breaches of the law relating to the surveillance and the search and apprehension of Kim.com and his crew was illegal. Now, the Prime Minister, he's been saying, I don't know about that. Then he's caught out in the sense where the GCSB says, well, actually, we briefed you on this, where we referred to it as an operation where the GCSB and the police were cooperating, and the Prime Minister then replies, well, I don't remember that. I take your word that briefing, or I was told about it. He hits on the word told. as opposed to being briefed, and says, I do not remember that, and his memory recall is being tested now because there are incidents coming up all the time where a reasonably minded person would think, well, come on, man, you were told about these things. Why are you trying to say you do not know? The other thing is, if he does not know, well, then the Prime Minister here is under a lot of pressure, intense pressure from his parliamentary colleagues, where he should know. Has he been too relaxed? Has he been inattentive to some of the most serious portfolios that a Prime Minister can hold? And here in New Zealand, he's the only person that's basically has oversight over these intelligence agencies. So that's a big scandal here. But relating to whether or not it's kind of getting to the stage like yours, we had a new Green Party MP over observing your Parliament in Canberra the other day. And she put out on Twitter, "Oh my God, this makes ours look sane."
Well, there we go.
That was in the build-up to your Mr. Slipper resigning, so she was right in the heat of it, obviously, there as an observer. But once again, I suppose your margins with your independence make the balance of power very, very slim, and I guess there's the energy both sides to try and do something about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, it's a dirty business everywhere, politics, by the sound of it. Just different dirt, depending where you are. Selwyn, many thanks for that, and we will catch you again next week.
Okay, Peter.
Good on you, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Selwyn Manning in New Zealand. You can read more. Head to livenews.co.nz for all the latest news in New Zealand. And speaking of all the latest news, Anne Stone has all of ours coming up very soon. Then we can get back to more of your calls. 8223 0000. Maybe you've got some more personal sort of experiences about this whole issue of young people working in sort of fast food restaurants, whether they're getting paid right, whether they're being made to work hours beyond their rostered hours for no pay. It's fairly concerning that would happen. Maybe you've got some experiences with your kids or anything else that's on your mind. 8223 0000.
At Eagles Bar and Bistro, prepare yourself for a treat. You'll get restaurant quality food at pub prices. And where to start with our delicious a la carte menu? Well, how about our $8 lunches every day? And now, our lunch and dinner $9.90 snitties Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then, move on to the gaming room with 40 machines, open till 3 a.m. 6 days a week and Sundays till 1. Eagles Bar and Bistro, 722 Port Road, Beverley. Gamble responsibly.
Jersey Boys, the story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Sherry, baby.
First they conquered Broadway, then London, now Adelaide. How did four guys from the wrong side of the tracks become one of pop's greatest sensations? Jersey Boys, from October 26th at Adelaide Festival Centre. On sale now. Book at bass.net.au.
It's on now, the Garden Grove Spring Sale. Everything you could want for your garden at fantastic Garden Grove Spring Sale prices. For your outdoor living, come and see our new season's range of outdoor furniture and barbecues. Just arrived and on display at fantastic prices. And we have great spring specials on plants, pots and much more. Sale prices on everything, only while stocks last. Don't miss the Garden Grove Spring Sale on now.
Garden Grove, the garden that I want.
Garden Grove, Golden Grove Road, Golden Grove.
South Australia's favourite lottery is back. It's the Hospital Home Lottery supporting medical research at the QEH. Top prizes, the sensational fully furnished Scott Salisbury home, plus the Porsche and Paris early bird prize, luxury vehicles, worldwide holidays and so much more. Over 2,600 prizes.